Why do you say you're exhausted but still stay up for 2 more hours? Why do you close your laptop, stretch your back, look at the clock, and think, I should sleep, but somehow end up staring at your phone at 2:03 a.m.? Why does your body feel done, but your mind refuses to stop? You felt it tonight, that moment, where you could have just ended the day, turned off the lights, put your phone away, let yourself rest. But instead, you picked it up, just for a minute, just to relax, just to switch off. And now you're here, scrolling, watching, switching between apps, and you don't even remember the first thing you opened. So what actually happened? What exactly are you doing every single night that quietly steals 2 hours of your life without you even noticing it? Because this isn't random. This isn't lack of discipline. This is a pattern, a system, and you've been running it every night. Why does it always start the same way? You finish your day, maybe you work a 9 to 5, maybe it's remote, maybe it's hybrid. Emails, Slack messages, meetings that dragged longer than they should, deadlines that sat in the back of your head all day. You were on for hours. Even if you weren't physically moving, your brain was, responding, thinking, switching tasks. Or maybe your day wasn't work. Maybe it was errands, driving across town, groceries, phone calls, trying to keep up with everything. Either way, you're drained, not physically, mentally. And that's when the sentence shows up, I deserve a break. And it feels right because you did show up today. You did deal with things. You did get through it. So now it's your time. But what does that break actually look like? Why does your break always involve a screen? You sit down, maybe it's your couch, maybe your bed, TV in front of you, phone already in your hand, and before you even realize it, you've opened something. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Netflix. Not because you thought about it, but because it's automatic, because your brain already knows where to go. Why doesn't it feel like a decision? Because it isn't one anymore. It's a loop, a trained response. Day ends, open phone, scroll. No thinking required. Why does your brain go straight to that? Because all day you were giving energy. Now it wants something back, something easy, something fast, something that gives you a quick hit of relief. And your phone is the fastest way to get it. Why do you open one app, then another, then another? Because you're not looking for anything specific. You're searching for something that feels good, something that holds your attention, something that makes you forget how tired you actually are. Why does time disappear so fast here? Because nothing has an ending. There's no natural stop, no clear you're done. Every platform is built the same way. Endless, scroll, next, autoplay. There is always something else, so your brain never gets a stopping signal. Why do you always say, just one more? Because your brain thinks the next one might be better. The next video, the next clip, the next episode. So it keeps going, not because it's enjoying it, but because it's chasing something. Relief, distraction, something to feel different.
Why does it feel good, but you keep going? Because at some point, you're not doing it for enjoyment anymore. You're doing it out of habit, out of momentum. You don't even ask, do I want this? You just continue. Why does this feel like rest, but leave you more tired? Because it's not rest, it's stimulation. Your brain is still working, still processing, still reacting, still switching, so it never actually slows down. It just changes what it's focusing on. Why does your body feel still, but your mind feel noisy? Because you never gave it silence. You replaced every quiet moment with input, videos, voices, information, so your brain never resets. Why does silence feel uncomfortable? Because silence brings things up. Thoughts you ignored all day, things you avoided, conversations you didn't have, tasks you didn't start, decisions you postponed. When it's quiet, you notice them. So instead of sitting there, you reach for something, anything, to fill that space. Why do you avoid that moment so much? Because it feels heavy, because it reminds you that something isn't right, that you're not where you said you'd be, that you didn't follow through. And that feeling, you don't want it, so you escape it. Why does this connect to your work? Think about your day. How many times did you get distracted? You opened your laptop to work, but checked your phone first. then opened a tab, then another, then came back, but not fully. So your work took longer, felt heavier, more draining. Why does that matter at night? Because now you're even more tired, mentally exhausted, so your brain wants even more escape, and the cycle gets stronger. Why does this show up in your goals? Think about the gym. How many times have you said, "This week I'm going consistently"? Monday, you go. Tuesday, you go. Wednesday, you feel good. Thursday, you're tired. You say, "I'll go tomorrow." Tomorrow becomes next week.
What do you do that night? You scroll, avoiding the thought, avoiding the restart, avoiding the effort. Why does this show up in your relationships? Think about the messages you haven't replied to. You saw them, you read them, but didn't respond. Not because you couldn't, but because it felt like effort, like something you'd have to think about. So you delayed it. And what did you do instead? Opened your phone again. Scrolled. Watched something random because it was easier. Why does everything important feel harder and everything useless feel easy? Because important things require effort. They ask something from you: attention, energy, responsibility. Distractions don't. They just give, instantly. Why does your brain keep choosing easy? Because it's designed to. Comfort feels safe. Effort feels uncertain, so it keeps pulling you back. Why does this pattern repeat every night? Because nothing interrupts it. There's no moment where you pause and say, "This is happening again." So it keeps running, automatically. Why do weekends feel like a reset but nothing changes? Friday night, you tell yourself you'll relax. Saturday, you do nothing meaningful. Sunday, you feel that pressure again. "I'll fix everything this week." But Sunday night looks exactly the same. You, on your phone, scrolling, repeating the pattern. Why do you keep believing Monday will be different? Because it feels like control, like a clean start. But your habits don't reset just because the calendar does. Why does this affect your mornings? Because you didn't actually rest. You delayed sleep, stayed stimulated. So when your alarm goes off, you feel heavy, slow, unmotivated. What do you do first thing? Reach for your phone again. Why does this slowly destroy your discipline? Because every night you break a promise. "I'll sleep early. I won't scroll tonight. I'll fix it tomorrow." And then you don't. What happens after that? Your brain stops believing you. So next time you say it, it means less. Why does that matter so much? Because discipline is built on trust, and you're slowly losing it. Why does this become your identity? Because repetition defines you. You don't just stay up late sometimes, you become someone who does. You don't just waste time occasionally, you become someone who always does. Why does it feel normal? Because everyone around you is doing it. Scrolling, watching, staying up late. So it doesn't feel dangerous, but normal doesn't mean harmless. Why is this so hard to notice? Because it's quiet. There's no big consequence, no obvious damage, just small losses every night. Why do those small losses matter? Because they stack. 2 hours a night, that's 14 hours a week, over 700 hours a year. Gone. And what do you have to show for it? Nothing you remember. Why does that feel uncomfortable to hear? Because it's true. Because you felt it. That moment before sleep when you think, "What did I even do tonight?" Why do you still do it? Because it's easier than stopping. Because stopping means sitting with yourself, and that feels harder. Why does this come down to control? Because if you can't control your night, you can't control your life. Why haven't you changed it yet? Because you treat it like a small problem. It's just scrolling, it's not that serious. But it is, because it happens every night. Why does awareness change everything? Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. You'll notice the moment it starts, the moment you pick up your phone, the moment you say, "Just one more." And that moment is where the real decision happens. Not tomorrow, not Monday, right there. Because that's the only moment that matters. So what happens tonight when you're sitting there, phone in your hand, knowing exactly how this ends? Because now you know. You know it's not random. You know it's a pattern. You know it's costing you. And if you still choose it, then it's not happening to you, you're choosing it. So be honest. When tonight comes, what are you going to do? Or are you going to let the same 2 hours disappear again? Be honest, where are you still lying to yourself?